All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're staging what we're calling the Great AI Bake Off, a literary showdown to see what happens when you put the biggest names in AI against each other. Are they really all that different? Let's find out. With so many AI tools out there, you've got to wonder, do they all basically think the same way? Are we just getting different flavors of the same ice cream? Or do they actually have unique personalities, their own strengths, their own weaknesses? That's the big question we're digging into today. So to figure this out, we gave 4 of the major AI models the exact same prompt. And we didn't ask for something simple. We gave them a pretty nuanced literary analysis question about the friendship between Liesel and Rudy in The Book Thief. We wanted to see how they'd handle a request for real insight and interpretation, a perfect test of what they can really do. Okay, let's meet the competitors who are about to square off in our little AI bake-off. So, in the ring, first up, we've got Copilot. The handy assistant that's built into a lot of Microsoft products. Then there's Gemini, the paid premium model from Google. Of course, we have to have the one everyone knows, the free version of ChatGPT. And rounding out the lineup is Claude, a challenger that's really known for its more conversational style. 4 big contenders, 1 tough challenge. The stage is set, the prompt has been sent, now for the main event. Let's put their responses side by side and see what they actually came up with. First things first, let's look at how each AI described the very beginning of Liesel and Rudy's relationship. How did they capture that initial spark of childhood connection? And right off the bat, we see some overlap. Both Copilot and Gemini really honed in on this idea of rivalry. Copilot calls it playful rivalry, while Gemini frames it as a friendly, sometimes competitive rivalry. So they're starting from a very similar place. Now, this is where it gets a little more interesting. ChatGPT also mentions playful rivalry, but it leads with the idea of simple childhood companionship. But Claude takes a different tack. It's much more concrete, focusing on the specific shared experiences, like school and soccer, that really built their bond. Okay, so a childhood friendship is one thing, but this relationship gets a lot more complicated under the pressures of war. How did our AIs handle that shift? And this is where we start to see some real separation. Copilot gets it right, identifying their shared mischief of stealing food. But just look at Gemini. It goes so much deeper, calling it a partnership of survival and defiance. And then it lists these crucial, specific examples that the others didn't. Meanwhile, ChatGPT and Claude also lean heavily into the thievery angle. I kind of like how ChatGPT puts it. They became partners in crime, literally. Claude uses similar language, partners in petty thievery. But it makes a point to say that their bond deepens because of that adversity. All right, now for the most heartbreaking moment in the entire novel. The differences here are just fascinating. Copilot sees it as this moment where her grief is revealed. Gemini is way more direct, saying it's an outright confession of love. ChatGPT sees it as a quieter, silent acknowledgement. But Claude, wow. Claude's analysis is almost poetic. It calls it a devastating moment that captures not just her regret, but the theft of their future by the war. That is chillingly good. So we've seen what they all said, but the difference is in how they said it, their style, their structure, that's just as telling. So let's break that down. This table really gives us the tale of the tape. Copilot is your direct, to-the-point summary with easy bullet points. Gemini is much more academic, structured like a study guide with headings. ChatGPT is the essayist, giving you this one flowing narrative. And then there's Claude, the conversationalist, who comes across as cautious and clarifying. And this is exactly what we mean by cautious and clarifying. Before it even started its analysis, Claude did something none of the other AIs even thought to do. It stopped and asked a question just to make sure it was on the right track. It's this cautious, almost collaborative approach that's totally unique to it. Then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you've got ChatGPT. No headings, no bullet points, nothing like that. It just delivered its analysis as one single cohesive piece of prose. Seriously, if you asked an AI to write you a short essay, this is pretty much exactly what you'd hope to get back. Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question that everybody always has about these tools. Did paying for Gemini actually get us a better response than the free models? Well, based on this test, when it comes to the depth of detail, the answer is a pretty clear yes. Gemini was the only model to bring up these 2 incredibly powerful and specific examples from the book, Rudy getting the book from the freezing river and them giving bread to the prisoners. And those details, they add so much weight to the analysis. Okay, so we've broken down the content, the style, the details. It's time for the final verdict. Who actually won the Great AI Bake Off? And the truth is, there's no single winner here. The big takeaway is that the best AI isn't some universal title. It completely, 100% depends on what you actually need it to do for you. This gives us a really fantastic roadmap. So, if you need a quick, scannable summary, Copilot's your guy. For a deep, comprehensive analysis, for, say, a research project, Gemini's detail is just unmatched. If you need to write a story or an essay, ChatGPT is your go-to. And if you're just exploring an idea and want a more interactive partner, Claude's conversational style is perfect for that. Look, if you take one thing away from this whole experiment, let it be this. These models are not interchangeable. They have distinct personalities. Their structure, their tone, the depth of their answers, it all varies in really significant and, it turns out, pretty predictable ways. Understanding that is everything. I think this analogy just sums it up perfectly. Choosing an AI isn't just a technical decision, it's a stylistic one. Are you looking for the quick definition from a dictionary, the comprehensive knowledge of an encyclopedia, or the flowing narrative of a novel? And that really leaves us with a final question, doesn't it? In a world with so many AI options, maybe looking for the single best one is just missing the point. Maybe the smartest move is to find the AI that's simply the best for whatever it is you're trying to do. Thanks for digging into this with us.